why did the Titanic really sink? Because it hit an iceberg. Yes, that is the answer a bored teacher gives 5 minutes before lunch. But the real answer is much more annoying. The Titanic did not sink because of one iceberg. It sank because of arrogance, bad decisions, ignored warnings, missing binoculars, not enough lifeboats, confused communication, and the classic human belief that expensive means safe, which it does not. A diamond toilet is still a toilet. The Titanic was called practically unsinkable. Practically. That word is doing a lot of work. Because on April 15th, 1912, the ocean heard that sentence and said, "Let's test that." The Titanic was one of three sister ships: Olympic, Titanic, Britannic, three giant luxury liners built by White Star Line. The Olympic survived and had a long career. The Titanic sank on its first voyage. The Britannic later sank during World War I. So honestly, this family had a bit of a water problem. The Titanic was not just a ship. It was a floating luxury hotel, expensive rooms, fine dining, electric lights, first-class lounges, and the famous grand staircase. Because when you are crossing the freezing Atlantic, nothing says safety like a beautiful staircase. To be fair, the staircase did not directly sink the ship. It was not running around with a tiny knife poking holes in the hull, but it showed the mindset. Titanic was built to impress. Luxury came first. Safety was there, but not enough. And water is very rude. It does not care about polished wood. It does not respect expensive furniture. It enters, it spreads, it ruins the mood. The second big mistake was the lifeboats. There were not enough lifeboats for everyone on a ship, in the ocean. That is like opening a restaurant with only 3 chairs and saying, "Don't worry, most people won't need to sit." Titanic could have carried more lifeboats, but more lifeboats made the deck look crowded. And apparently, survival equipment was bad for the aesthetic. Imagine paying for first class and having to look at objects that might save third-class passengers too. Disgusting. The worst part? It was legal. The rules at the time were outdated. Titanic followed the regulations, which is a great reminder that legal and smart are not always friends. The third problem was the material. Titanic was advanced for its time. It was not built out of cardboard and British confidence, but the steel plates and rivets had limits. In freezing water, metal can become more brittle. And when the iceberg hit, it did not create one giant cartoon hole. It damaged several sections, small openings, separated seams, water entering multiple compartments. Titanic could survive a few flooded compartments, but too many were damaged. And once the water passed the limit, the ship was doomed. Engineering is wonderful, until reality joins the meeting. Now let's talk about the iceberg. It probably broke away from Greenland long before the disaster. Then it drifted south, slowly, quietly. Just a massive frozen death cube minding its own business. It did not have a plan. It did not wake up and say, "Today I will destroy the confidence of an empire." It just floated, and then humanity arrived at full speed. Titanic received several ice warnings that night. Other ships reported ice in the area. This was not a surprise party. The danger was known, but Titanic kept moving fast. At night, through icy waters, with poor visibility. That is not confidence. That is the ocean version of texting while driving. But the car has more than 2,000 people inside. The captain was Edward John Smith, a very experienced man, respected, trusted by rich passengers. Some called him the millionaire's captain, which sounds impressive until you remember that icebergs do not care about your LinkedIn endorsements. Experience can make you careful, but it can also make you too comfortable. And on Titanic, comfort was already doing far too much. Then came one of the stupidest details in the whole story. The lookouts did not have binoculars. Why? Because the binoculars were locked away, and the key was not on the ship. Yes, the biggest, most luxurious ship in the world. And at the critical moment, someone basically said, "Has anyone seen the key? Civilization is amazing. Electric lights, luxury suites, fine dining, no binocular key." So the lookouts watched for ice with their naked eyes. At night, in the North Atlantic, fantastic. Why not give them a candle and a motivational quote? The night itself made everything worse. There was no moon. The sea was extremely calm. Usually, waves crash against an iceberg and create white foam. That makes it easier to see. But that night, the sea was flat and dark. Beautiful, peaceful, silent. Exactly the kind of night people call magical. Right before they become a historical documentary. Then the radio room added another layer of disaster. Titanic's wireless operators were busy, very busy. They were not only handling safety messages, they were also sending private messages from passengers. Because rich people needed to tell other rich people that the trip was lovely. "Dear Margaret, the ship is magnificent." Bad timing, Margaret. Ice warnings came in, but not all of them were treated with enough urgency. One nearby ship, the Californian, had stopped because of ice. It warned Titanic. Titanic's radio operator was busy and snapped back. In modern English, "Bro, stop interrupting, I'm working." Later, the Californian's radio operator turned off his equipment and went to sleep. Because 24-hour radio watch was not mandatory back then. Brilliant. A ship can be sinking nearby, but don't worry. Someone will check after breakfast. Then the iceberg appeared. Lookout Frederick Fleet saw it. He rang the warning bell, then called the bridge. "Iceberg, right ahead!" The crew reacted. The wheel turned. The engines were ordered to reverse. But Titanic was enormous. Huge things do not turn quickly. Just ask any corporation. First, there is a meeting, then another meeting, then a report. By the time a decision is approved, the iceberg has already started working in HR. Titanic tried to avoid the iceberg. That sounds right, but the glancing hit damaged a long section of the ship. Water entered multiple compartments, and that was the fatal problem. At first, many passengers did not understand. Some felt a small vibration. Some stayed in bed. Some went outside and played with pieces of ice on the deck. Imagine that. Your ship has hit an iceberg. And people are making snowballs. Humans are incredible. Faced with death, we choose entertainment. Below deck, engineers understood the truth. Titanic was going down. Not maybe. Definitely. The ship had about 2 hours and 40 minutes. That sounds like a lot. It was not. Not with over 2,200 people. Not in the dark. Not in freezing water. Not with too few lifeboats. And not with confusion everywhere. Some lifeboats left partly empty. People did not believe the ship would really sink. Some were afraid to leave the big ship for a tiny boat. Some crew members were unsure how many people the boats could hold. So empty seats left the Titanic, while people stayed behind. That is not bad luck. That is failure with a uniform. And yes, the band probably kept playing. The exact final song is debated, but many accounts say the musicians played to calm passengers. A sinking ship, cold air, panic, dark ocean, and music. Today, someone would live stream it. Guys, Titanic is sinking. Like and subscribe if you want the violinist to keep going. Then the ship tilted. The bow sank deeper. The stern rose, the hull broke apart, and the Titanic disappeared into the Atlantic. The most famous luxury liner in the world, gone in less than 3 hours. After Titanic, everything changed. Ships had to carry enough lifeboats. Radio watch became more serious. Ice monitoring improved. International safety rules were strengthened. Basically, the world said maybe safety should not be optional. Excellent discovery. Only cost more than 1,500 lives. So why did the Titanic really sink? The iceberg was the final hit, but the disaster began much earlier, in the design choices, in the missing lifeboats, in the ignored warnings, in the speed, in the radio room, in the missing binoculars, and in one dangerous belief: this ship cannot sink. Titanic was not defeated by an iceberg alone. It was defeated by humans seeing danger and saying, "Relax, it'll be fine." Which, historically, is how most disasters introduce themselves.